For Project 3, this is titled Peanut Butter and Mayonnaise Sandwich, a how-to guide. Now, I bet you thought of that title and thought, that's a gross flavor combination, or, I'd be interested in trying that sandwich. While I personally tried a peanut butter mayonnaise sandwich, the intention was to create a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. There are many opportunities in one's life where we can interact with one another. Through these interactions, we expect that all conversations are understandable for both parties, but this may not always be the case. Instead, there may be hiccups in dialogue or communication breakdowns in communication that may occur from misunderstanding or not knowing in the first place. Language is how people interact, thus proves it's important to do so effectively. In total, there are multiple facets of culture that are embedded in language. More specifically, the values and beliefs that are emulated, plus two prime examples such as a peanut butter and jelly sandwich how-to, plus English idioms into American Sign Language will be highlighted. From this week's reading, it highlighted a section about cultural aspects within communication. The reading made the reader aware of 5 components that embody communication, but instead I will be focusing on 1, culture. Everyone comes from a variety of backgrounds, and while understanding may be shared within each of these pockets, someone who moves in this area may not be as familiar. Gross et al. From the textbook said that from using the following word culture, it is a combination of organizational members' own beliefs and the values, beliefs, and assumptions of the organization. It is the role of the organizational leader as a change agent to help create a positive organizational culture. Now, not only does this current team's knowledge to be aware of the ongoings, but also be willing to help out those who may not know. It was told that an organizational leader appears to help those learn and grow, but the leader does not need to be imminent or predetermined. Anyone can help by becoming the leader in that moment. Also, it is important to recognize that what culture is made up of. There are multiple variants of the definition, and Gross et al. Goes on to state that culture involves beliefs, attitudes, values, and traditions that are shared by a group of people, as well as the physiological aspects, the psychological aspects of our expectations of the communication context. From my own experiences, I moved from Missouri to New York for school here at the Rochester Institute of Technology, or RIT. I was never exposed to the word or phrase dead ass, and especially when I lived in Missouri. So, coming to school, people were shocked when I was unaware and would respond with dead ass, but repeating the word just made everything more confusing. One person did eventually explain it to me as a seriously or no shit, but this goes on to show my lack of experience and understanding in that one word example. Communication is important for the interaction between all people. While communication to ourselves may be obvious, the explanation to others may not have the same impact we experience. When I initially read this assignment, I read the phrase technical communication and thought of the communication of how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, or PB&J. Previously, I was able to student teach in Missouri, where I learned at once that you're a teacher, you need to be careful in how you say and approach things. One of my cohorts talked about a lesson for the creation of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, in which they encouraged me to watch the lessons later. I have two examples were provided today in my paper, but I will explain a little bit more details now. They're kept in the same grammar format as they were presented to me, and nothing has been changed. The first of which comes from a student named D. Martinez, who goes on to state: 1. Find some sliced bread. Take 2 slices and put it on a plate. Step 2. Spread some peanut butter with the S knife into 1 slice of bread. Step 3. To the other slice of bread, put a lot of strawberry jelly with a knife. Step 4. Finally, put the slices together and enjoy. Secondly, a student named Caleb explains the steps needed as: when making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, there are 3 variables: the peanut butter, jelly, the bread. They can vary by type, brand, etc. My personal favorite and also my ultimate comfort food is Skippy chunky peanut butter with Welch's grape jelly on Pepperidge Farm cinnamon swirl raisin bread. And they go on to state the more steps in more detail of how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Now, both are good examples and good explanations of how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but are not 100% complete. From researching this lesson again of how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, someone explained this phenomenon as telling a Martian or robot the steps in order to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Ben Finio, in the use of robot, explains the step procedure as the quote program for how to make this sandwich literally. After explaining the steps, there are multiple moments when Finio states, you need to debug your program by fixing the bugs or errors in the code. Based on your notes, any mistakes you have observed, write a new version of your program and ask your volunteer to try again. In this case, the robot is a volunteer or partner at the table that you're working with, and they may need to take various tiny steps to make this sandwich complete, or furthermore, 100%. While debugging may occur, Finio explains that there may be moments of using the wrong end of the knife, not taking the lid off the jar first, putting the wrong side of the piece off the bread against each other, etc., etc. Other examples that you can see are not putting the lid back onto the jar, not putting the twist tie back on the bread, or taking it off, as such. So with time, these debugging sessions should occur multiple times before everything is complete and precise. One important aspect of what this project proposes can be summarized by Charles Miles from his Pink Elephant blog. He goes on to state, what this lesson illustrated was that we communicate with assumptions and prejudices. We assume everyone we communicate with has the same level of understanding about a subject that we do, although it has nothing to do with the intelligence level of the Martian. And in this case, the Martian is being used, but it's realized that whoever the volunteer is that is making the PB&J sandwich is the one who experienced multiple sessions to preciseness. There are moments when a company may provide a manual, but it must be understood by all employees, whether they exist as the IT help desk person to the technical engineer who interact with the products daily. This is just another example of maybe it's not a PB&J, but instead a product manual that is shared by all employees. Again, communication is key, and understanding throughout is important. So, developing this ability to communicate with your intended audiences, whether it's one person or an entire lecture hall full of students, is an important skill to be able to master. But what if instead of verbally explaining yourself, you need to communicate in a nonverbal language? As an RIT student, we are immersed in a variety of cultures, most notably is American Sign Language, or ASL, and deaf culture presented on the campus. In relationship to language, there are moments when deaf people can point to a picture, or hearing people can gesture the way through a conversation, but doing this all the time is not very effective overall. Michael McIntosh of Brew Minute states that it's so important that we all take the time to really learn about the different cultures in the world. It allows us to gain a deeper understanding of how and why these people live the way they do, and it allows us to expand our minds. So, by learning about deaf culture, its language, and more, typically is not learned overnight, but instead over time and through a variety of interactions. Having deaf students on our campus should not be seen as like a check mark on diversity, but rather a group of people who have experiences, shared or not, that we can learn and grow from individualistically. One way to promote the learning of language and culture is by discovering the different signs represented. For this discussion, I want to promote English idioms that are translated into ASL. An idiom is explained as a speech form or expression of a given language that is particular to itself grammatically, or cannot be understood from the individual meanings of its elements. This is given from Jay Lapiak of her website, Handspeak. Included is a list of English idioms for both Bill Vickers and Rogan Shannon. Now, not all idioms are easily understood in the opposite language, and then going back to the first language as well. All these are examples, and that apply to English idioms to ASL. Now, While I'm not personally an ASL interpreter, I am semi-fluent in American Sign Language, and using these are being supported for my paper. So, example, the English idiom of "it's raining cats and dogs" can be just signed as "it's raining hard," so. Or "miss the boats" or "opportunity" is "train go," sorry. Been there, done that, touch, finish. Heard through the grapevine, just gossip. Piece of cake, when pigs fly. Knock it off. I'll be quiet now. And essentially cutting your wrists off, because that's another way to communicate, and by not having your hands, can't communicate. Another one is "I'm angry," so depending on how low the eyebrows or expression goes, typically means more angry someone is. Or "boiling mad," one of my favorites is. And hearing that typically is not seen within deaf culture because they cannot hear, but to everyone else, it means something. So it's crucial that once you can immerse yourself in culture, learn the language, and live in their experiences, then you're able to understand the many facets of that culture. This applies but one experience of culture represented on the RIT campus, but there are plenty more. Awareness of cultural aspects of technology or technical communication is to include these aspects in the beginning or middle sections. Translations and misunderstandings will occur, but it's important to realize early on rather than at the end of the presentation or communication. So, the communication occurs between how to make a peanut butter and mayonnaise sandwich, rather a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and to explain the comparison of idioms across two languages occurs, shows growth between the two parties involved. In summary, we are humans that interact with people across a variety. Wow. In summary, we are humans that can interact with people with a variety of cultures and skills embedded inside of each of us. When a breakdown in technical communication occurs, it is important to find the challenging components and work to improve them not only in the moment, but also for the future. We have the ability to learn from each other in the cultures we share, but continue to be mindful of the cultural aspects of technical communication.